And, of course, now that the tax deal is done, a lot of focus on what's next on the Trump agenda for his administration. And it looks like they're focused on trillion-dollar infrastructure. That package is on the docket. Now, remember, when Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer said that he would work with President Trump on infrastructure spending. If you don't remember, roll that tape.
Today to join us. We agree. Democrats have been talking about this. There have been some bills to do this long before Donald Trump was campaigning for the presidency. Now we have a president-elect who has called for a large infrastructure bill. We're challenging him to join us, even if his Republican colleagues in the House and Senate aren't for it.
All right, come on in. David Hoppe, former chief of staff to Paul Ryan. What's Senator Schumer, what he said last year, of course, is one thing. Will the Dems actually work with President Trump now?
I think we have to look at how an infrastructure bill will be done, because President Trump is talking about something very different. You'll recall back in 2009, the Democrats had an infrastructure package that really didn't work. President Obama said after that, it wasn't really as shovel-ready as we thought. What they did is pave a lot of roads. This has to be something different, and President Trump is talking about something different. What he wants to do is get some federal money, some state and local money, but then get private money involved. It can be done if the projects are worthwhile as market projects. And there are market projects out there which will attract private money. That's what the president wants to do. That's a wise way to do it. That is not what Senator Schumer is talking about. So the Democrats, if they want to do this, are going to have to compromise and look at doing something that will create jobs right away and have long-term market effects.
So, David, essentially, what does Schumer want? Because it seems like there are two components of the three you laid out to make this a viable solution. State and local funding, which I think would be out of the questions with respect to Democrats, particularly those with those debt-burdened states, and the private sector. They seem loath to have the private sector involved in anything. So do they just want another de facto transfer of wealth from the federal government to these states where the money is squandered?
Well, they want $1 trillion down payment of simply federal money, and then they'll talk about maybe doing something creative. Look at, even the World Bank has been successful in attracting some private money for some of their projects because they are market-oriented projects. This is going to be the key. If the Democrats will agree to look at projects which will be, that the market will support because they will provide some real growth to the economy and a stronger base of the economy, we've got something we can work on.
Yeah,
that's going to be the key.
Being able to transfer goods and services are a key component to growing in GDP. And almost everyone watching this show has a horror story or two of their own on crumbling infrastructure. So Democrats pushing back on this, I think, is going to be a tough political football for them. David, I want to shift gears a little bit, though, because I've got a number I want to share with you, and it's on food stamp usage. Down 4.6% in the past year. The cost of maintaining the food stamp program now at a 7-year low. What's your reaction to that?
Well, this is a reaction to some of the growth we've had in the United States. I used to work for Jack Kemp, and Jack used to say you should measure compassion by how many people are getting off of food stamps because they're getting better jobs, better opportunities, and are able to work back in the economy and work themselves back up so that they no longer need food stamps. That's what compassion ought to be measured by. And I think on that basis, some of the things that have happened this year, both the growth in the economy that has been stimulated by some of the efforts to reduce regulation and some of the growth that's been put in there by people looking for the tax cuts, which are now finally here. Those are the sorts of things, along with the states trying to be very careful in how they spend their money and how they spend their food stamp money, which have resulted in fewer people being on food stamps because they no longer need them. That's what true compassion is.
We've just got 30
Help somebody
seconds.
Get off of food stamps by getting a job.
David, you talked about compassionate conservatism and Jack Kemp and things like that. There's a lot of talk about welfare reform. Would this be the right launching pad to enact some form of welfare reform? Because it seemed to work pretty well for people, welfare recipients, when Bill Clinton enacted it.
And I think some of the things that were done there in a bipartisan way are the things we ought to look at, making sure that people who are getting welfare are learning, are either taking training or they have a job, they're looking for a job, they're doing those things. The Obama administration started taking some of those things away, and it hurt people who are looking for jobs. So, yes, there are some things there you can do, but mostly in the training area and the job training area are the places you want to look. I think real, true, complete welfare reform is probably something we're going to need to do after we've had several years of growth.
Okay.
So we really have the jobs out there for people to come and get.
Well, right now with unemployment well under 4%, perhaps under 5%, perhaps soon under 4%, that opportunity will be there. David, thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Hey,